the roster and has flipped it. I mean, like you said, Jimmy Butler, All-Star. Tobias Harris, who I think should have been an All-Star this year. If he played in the Eastern Conference, he would have been an All-Star. And I think the 76ers, with the amount of money they have left in their cap, they might be able to sign both these guys. They might be able to sign Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris and have them back next year. A lot of that depends on what happens this season with the playoffs, but that's a real possibility for Philadelphia. This might not be a one and done for both those players, or maybe at least one of them could come back. We'll see. But definitely the Philadelphia 76ers are one of my winners for today. I like what Toronto did a lot. Getting rid of Greg Monroe, sending him to the Brooklyn Nets for a draft pick, picking up Marc Gasol. That's a real underrated move. Yes, I know this is not the Defensive Player of the Year, 22-year-old Marc Gasol, but he's still a legit NBA player. And you got to remember too, a lot of these guys, man, when you're losing a lot, you've never tasted playoff success, you've never had an opportunity to really make a bang in the playoffs, you get a little juice in your tank. We've seen it time and time again where veterans have been traded to teams, and the veteran has had, maybe it's a game 3 in round 1 where Marc Gasol shows his impact. Maybe it's a game 5 in the Eastern Conference Finals. This guy has a double-double that we were expecting. I think being in a team environment where he knows winning is what's expected and it's going to happen might give Marc Gasol a real charge. So I definitely have to have the Toronto Raptors up there. And then my third team, like you said, was the Milwaukee Bucks, getting Mirotic. I think adding more shooting with Chris Middleton already. You got Bledsoe. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo on that team. And you also have Brogdon. Don't forget about him. Yep. I mean, Milwaukee's starting 5 can go toe-to-toe with anybody in the NBA. I think if I was the Golden State Warriors, I'd be taking teams in the Eastern Conference a little bit more seriously after what happened today.
Oh, 100%. And I honestly think that's why those are the teams that made the most moves. You talk about Milwaukee being the number 1 team in the East, Toronto being the number 2 team in the East, the Celtics being the number 3 team in the East, but they didn't really make that many moves, and the Sixers, of course, the 5th. So, I mean, those are the top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that all know our roster's good, but is it good enough to beat the Warriors? What can we do to get our roster better to beat the Warriors? Because that's what they're doing. They're all amping up to make not just to make the playoffs, they're all running for that Eastern Conference Finals and, going against the Warriors in the championship game there. So, yeah, every single one of those moves was phenomenal. I like the Marc Gasol thing, but Jonas Valanciunas, I liked him. I think that had he have been healthy, he had a couple injuries this year, so I think had he been more healthy this year and been playing, because I really liked him. Like he was killing us in the playoffs. Was it last year and the year before?
Yeah, he's definitely a Wizards killer.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's one of those guys who's younger than Marc Gasol, but he just doesn't have what Marc Gasol has, and that's, tenure in the league. I mean, he can come in there and he can come in there and he can really provide, that little bit of what's the word I'm thinking for? Sorry.
Oh, veteran presence. Number 1. And he's also a decent player.
Exactly. And he's been to the playoffs year after year after year. So I definitely like Marc Gasol coming to them, but I just wish, Valanciunas didn't have to go, but it just works out that way sometimes. And, you go with what the players that you got on the team afterwards. Yeah,
no, for sure. Some of the teams, too, that impressed me, I won't call them winners of the trade deadline. They weren't my top 3 winners. They're winners, but not my top 3 personally. The Knicks, a big opportunity next year with having that money to sign 2 max free agents plus the draft pick, depending where they go. But like all teams in the NBA, they've got to get these big-time free agents. It's one thing to say, hey, we got all this money. It's something different to say, this players have signed with us. The Clippers as well put themselves in a good position to make some moves in the offseason as far as free agency goes. The Celtics still have all those assets. And for me, with Anthony Davis not getting traded to the Lakers, if I'm Danny Ainge, I am laughing. Because all I got to do is get through this season, and the NBA is my oyster when the season ends. Whether it be the NBA Finals or whether it be the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics have a lot of opportunity to make some moves and really improve themselves during this offseason. And one more team that I was impressed with what they did, Orlando. Because I think this Martell Fultz situation, this is a guy that was drafted number 1. The Sixers traded up to get him number 1 overall out of the University of Washington. We've seen the shoulder injury, the yips, all these issues he's had. Well, now it seems like he's really on the road to recovery. It seems, from what we've heard. We haven't seen anything at all yet. But you go to Orlando, a place that I saw a tweet from Nuts and Bolts Sports, actually, one of my social media team members. He wrote that going to Orlando is almost like NBA rehab, palm trees and all. And it kind of is for him. It's a very small media market. He won't have all that pressure. They have a great coach down there, and Clifford, that can help him out with that staff. I think the Orlando Magic, with still having their core there, have a chance to turn things around and be a force next year.
No, 100%. I like, Aaron Gordon. We haven't really talked that much about him because he really hasn't had that, big games or anything yet, but he's still a star in this league. So he's definitely somebody. Mabamba, of course, is injured, and we don't know what's going to happen with him.
Yeah.
I believe they still have DJ Augustine's their point guard.
They got to upgrade that.
Right, and that's what they did. They went out and they got Fultz, and hopefully he can be somebody that can really help that team make that next move and get within that top 8 spots to make the playoffs, because they are, they're not, every year it seems like they're either very bottom or just on the outskirts of making the playoffs.
Yeah, this year they've been flirting with 8 spot. Mm-hmm. I think they make it this year personally.
Well, right now you got the Pistons, you got the Wizards, and you got the Magic. You got those 3 teams fighting for that last spot, and then of course Miami Heat, which is in the last spot right now. So those 4 teams are really going to be the 4 teams that are going to be fighting for it, and it could come down right down to the end of the season before we really know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Now, we talked about the Eastern Conference. Clearly, the East was the winners today in the NBA trade deadline. Talk about starting fives. I mean, you talk about, 76ers are going to go. You're talking Ben Simmons, J.J. Redick, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. That starting 5 that they're going to be able to put on the floor for the 76ers is great. But then you think about Milwaukee, what Milwaukee can throw at you. And you think about Toronto. I don't know about you, I just cannot wait for this Eastern Conference playoffs to start, because one of the things for the Bucks that I saw as a weakness a little bit was outside of Middleton, and Brogdon's kind of inconsistent, was their shooting. And now you get Mirotic in that team. This is a guy that, when healthy, key phrase being when healthy, is a legit three-point shooter in this league. And adding him to that squad just changes the dynamic of that team so much. I mean, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with Milwaukee. And I'm interested to see how things gel in Philadelphia with all these alpha males. Because Jimmy Butler's an alpha male. Ben Simmons is. We know Joel Embiid is. Tobias Harris is a kind of a role player. He's always been that way from his days at University of Tennessee to Orlando. He's always kind of been, he knows his role. He does his role very well. Will he be the calming influence over all these dominant personalities in that team? It's something I'm looking forward to seeing as well.
Oh, 100%. And you got to think you got to throw J.J. Redick in there as well, because J.J. Redick is that sharpshooter, and that's what they need, because that's how they're going to win. Embiid definitely can do what he can do. We know he can shoot the ball. We know he can shoot threes. We know he's got the footwork to make the moves down inside, and he's going to get rebounds and putbacks all day long. But if somebody can shut that down, it's going to be up to the J.J. Redicks, the Tobias Harrises, knocking down the shots from the outside, and that's really what's going to make the difference. Now, you talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, and I read something today, and I have to share it. Of course, the Milwaukee Bucks became the first team to win 40 games this season. We were talking about the Bucks, for the past couple of years with Giannis Antetokounmpo and how good they've become, and I don't think anybody really thought that they would be as good as they are this year. The way they have been, at least. But they're the first team with 40 wins this season. The last time they were the first team to make 40 wins, they've done it twice. Both times they made it to the NBA Finals.
Oh, wow.
So
you're talking about the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar years.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So, you're talking about a team that, we all basically said Boston was going to win it in the Eastern Conference this year. I think at the very beginning of the season, we were like, Boston's going to win it. It was set in stone. It's going to be Boston. It's going to be Golden State in the conference finals. But Milwaukee's really taken that next step, and Giannis is, in my opinion, still could be the MVP and will be the MVP this year. So it's really fun to see that team and the way they've stepped up. And Brogdon, like you said, knocking down those 3-point shots, who's in the 3-point contest this year.
Yeah,
so
rightfully
as a whole, like you said, I think the Eastern Conference is anybody could win it this year. All 3 of them. What Milwaukee did, what Toronto did to boost their roster. 76ers, like you said, what they did to boost their roster. They're all doing it to fight each other. It's going to be a battle royale in the Eastern Conference this year in the playoffs. And the Western Conference is not going to let down either with some of the teams that they got.
Oh, yeah, not for a second.
But you kind of just go in, if you look at the beginning of the year and you look at now, you're thinking to yourself, oh, no, it's just going to be this one team in the Eastern Conference and nobody else really has a chance. But now everybody has a chance, and a lot of it has to do with the moves that they made today.
Yeah, like we said at the beginning of the show, it's all about making that team be equipped to face off against a Golden State Warrior team. And of course, no one's going to be able to say, "Hey, we have a lineup, we have a KD type player on our squad." But you take a look at some of these teams, and their starting fives, I think, in my opinion, can go toe to toe with the Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. I think that if you have Joel Embiid, you have Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons doing what he's supposed to be doing, and then you add Tobias Harris, you add JJ Redick, they can go toe to toe with Golden State. I mean, they've won already against them this season. Yes, the regular season, playoffs are a whole different level of intensity and a whole different animal. I'm aware of that. But if I'm a member of the Bucks, the Raptors, or the 76ers, I feel better now about our chances to compete against anybody out of the West now than I might have felt yesterday. They should feel that way legit.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're just breaking down the Eastern Conference, I think it's ironic because you're looking at, other than those top 5 teams, you're looking at the Brooklyn Nets. Where do they come from? The Charlotte Hornets. Yeah, they've always been okay, and they can usually get there, but the Miami Heat, I mean, that's the top 8 right there. I mean, these are teams that, we don't look at as necessarily like big-time teams that are going to take it to the finals or anything like that, but they're still, I mean, the 1-8 seed, I mean, it's going to be a tough game anywhere in the Eastern Conference this year. It's not going to be like it has been in the past, in my opinion. I think that all the teams in the Eastern Conference have pretty much gotten a lot better. So
yeah, and you got Brooklyn getting LeVert back too. We talked about how they had lost Spencer Dinwiddie for a long time. They lost LeVert to an injury earlier in the season. He'll be available to play tomorrow on Friday for Brooklyn. So that's a really big get for them to be able to say, "Hey, this guy's been gone out of our lineup for a long time, but he's back." Another team too. We've been talking about him. We've been pumping him up all season long. I know I am in the front seat of the Sacramento Kings hype train. Sacramento made a nice move, getting rid of Zach Randolph and Justin Jackson out of the University of North Carolina and picking up Harrison Barnes. Some controversy about that. Did Harrison Barnes know he was going to get traded? Him being traded in the middle of the game, and then we had, as if there's not enough heat on him, you had LeBron James come out, make comments about that, how players should get traded in the middle of the game and integrity. And after all the things he's called, I think LeBron needs to be quiet for a little bit, let things kind of pipe down before he gets back out there and makes himself the face of the league. But Harrison Barnes going to Sacramento, this is a guy that has NBA Finals experience, is a legit scorer in this league, has shown signs. I mean, in the game he got traded in, he had scored 10 straight points before they put him on the bench, and he found out in the middle of the game you're on the bench because you just got traded. So, I mean, when it comes to that, my feelings real quick on the trade thing is let the guy finish the game, man. Let the guy finish the game with your team. If you're going to trade him, do one of two things. Either before the game you say, "Hey, Pat, we got you the trading block. There's a chance when the game is over, the trade could go through. What do you want to do?" As our last-ditch sign of loyalty, or not even loyalty, but doing the right thing by you, what do you want to do? You want to play or you want to sit? And if the trade happens in the middle of the game, I don't say anything to the guy till the game is over.
See, what I read, and I did a little bit of research on it too. What I read was that he knew that there was a possibility. He knew that they were in talks, but obviously he didn't know. And then he took himself out of the game somewhere in the middle of the third quarter or something like that. And he did the right thing though. He sat on the bench. He did the right thing. He didn't, just sit in the locker room and go away from his teammates and stuff like that. He sat on the bench, waited to the end of the game, waited to the final of the game, and then he left. I'm sure he talked to his old teammates and stuff like that. Did. So, but it's got to be a tough thing to be, like you said, to know that I could be traded and I'm playing this game. But coming from the organization's perspective, hey, we're trading him now. I don't want him to get hurt before he goes over there because then this deal's no good because they got to go through the physical and stuff like that or whatever. So, so I kind of get where they're coming from. The same reason why the Pelicans haven't been playing Anthony Davis, like you said. They didn't want him to get hurt before that trade deadline because that's their big chip right there. He gets hurt, nobody's going to jump on it like they were. So I mean, I get Barnes though. I really do like him coming there because, like you said, he is a guy that can score, and we talked about him when he was with Golden State, and he was backing them down. We're talking about a guy in the finals backing people down and really stepping up and coming up big in crunch moments of games. So it's exciting to see the Kings do something. Randolph hadn't played since March of last year, so he's obviously been on that roster. He really hadn't done much. So, but moving forward, the Sacramento Kings are going to be one of my favorite teams in the Western Conference. I've always liked them.
My NBA League Pass crush right there, man. You know, I'm always Team Wizards, but if I got a little bit of energy in me and I see Kings on the screen, I'm going to at least